The corruption in the Trump administration is unmatched, as is the incompetence, the abject incompetence of the people that he surrounds himself with. Not only are they incompetent, they are liars. They sit and look at your face and they lie to you. For example, yesterday, when asked about tariffs, Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary for Donald Trump, said this.
If we could just step back for a second. When President Trump last addressed the BRT when he was on the campaign trail, his big push was on tax cuts. He's going there today as he's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs. And I'm curious for why he's prioritizing that over the tax cuts.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people. And the president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts. As you know, he campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have. They don't get charged on foreign companies. They get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
Okay, so many things to talk about here. Number one, it is well established that tariffs are paid by the consumer, not the foreign country. The buyer buys the product at an increased price, thus selling it to the consumer at an increased price. This is settled. Secondly, saying that the no tax on tip, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, that's never been addressed by the Trump administration. That is not in the works. We've not heard another thing about it since the election. Then you go to, it's insulting to me to test my economic policy. You clearly don't know economic issues like tariffs because you are lying. So either you don't understand it or you're straight up lying and don't care. And then the swipe at the AP because Trump wants to keep all propaganda in the White House press corps. He wants to get rid of everybody that will not spread his propaganda. So there are so many things wrong with this. It is amazing to me that we go from Jen Psaki, Karine Jean-Pierre to this complete bozo. So my question is, does she know she's lying or is she a dipshit? I don't know if it's a combination of both or one or the other, but it is embarrassing for her. It's embarrassing for the Trump White House. Moving on to further embarrassing. So just for the record, measles vaccines save lives. We have deaths in measles that are at record high. We've not seen this in decades because the vaccine works. So here is RF Kennedy Jr. at a Shake Shack, Mr. Health and Safety and Making American People Eat Healthy Food, is doing a commercial for Shake Shack while being interviewed by Sean Hannity. And what he does is lie about the measles vaccine.
It shouldn't force them to do it. There are adverse events from the vaccine. It does cause deaths every year. It causes all the illnesses that measles itself causes, encephalitis and blindness, etc. And so people ought to be able to make that choice for themselves. And what we need to do is give them the best information and encourage them to vaccinate. The vaccine does stop the spread of the disease. I want everyone to do.
Okay, here's the thing. People are dying without the vaccine. Period, full stop. That's the end. It is amazing to me that he would sit there as the director of health for the American people and spin this kind of bullshit. It's unconscionable what he is saying. And I want to just remind everyone, he is a lawyer. He is not a doctor. He is not a scientist. He has no expertise in this field. But as we all know, expertise and facts do not matter in the Trump administration. In the same Shake Shack commercial, RFK talks about bird flu.
Why we have an egg crisis. And the The disease is not passed through food. So you cannot get it, as far as we know, you cannot get it from an egg or milk or meat from an infected animal.
That is simply false. The data from the National Institute of Health clearly says when mice consumed infected raw milk, they showed signs of illness, suggesting that drinking raw milk may pose a risk of transmission to people. Now, remember, the National Institute of Health is a scientific organization. The people that put this data together are scientists that are highly educated in this field. And RFK Jr. is an attorney that thinks he's an expert on health because he eats clean and healthy. And he's doing a Shake Shack commercial. I like Shake Shack, but somebody who goes on and on about the American people are eating bad food should not sit and do a commercial for Shake Shack while slandering vaccines and acting like bird flu is no big deal. Moving on. I mean, it's unbelievable, the collection of dipshits in this administration. Moving on to Linda McMahon, the wrestling WWE executive, who is now the Secretary of Education. As we know, part of Project 2025 was to dismantle the Department of Education because also, as Trump has told us, he loves the poorly educated. So in an effort to close down the Department of Education, there have been massive slashes to the budget. There have been lockouts of employees. And now you have Linda McMahon on Fox telling all of us how incompetent she is.
It's going to fall through the cracks.
So that was my next question. So the criteria for keeping that 50% is related to expenditures and key programs?
Correct. Congress appropriates the money that is going through Title I to IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it stands for, except that it's the programs for disabled and needs.
Individuals with Disabilities Act, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know all my acronyms. I've been here for 30 years.
This is my fifth day on the job, and I'm really trying to learn them very quickly.
Right. It's a lot.
Okay. Why don't you already know that? You're the Secretary of Education. If you are slashing budgets, why don't you know what you are slashing? Why are you sitting there acting like you know something when you don't? You are a dipshit. And that just goes hand in hand with the lies, the incompetence, and the outright disregard for people. Like RFK Jr., doesn't matter to him if people die. Trump, he certainly doesn't care as long as he's grifting and Elon Musk has given him $100 million here and $300 million there. Why does he care? It's unbelievable. But one little spark, and this is just a personal happy note for me because I'm petty. As we know, Trump's crashing the stock market with all his tariffs. Will they or won't they? Here they are. No, they're not. I'm going to increase them. No, I'm not. So the stock market's in free fall. Recession is coming. And these individuals who were on the stage at Trump's inauguration together have lost $209 billion. And that makes me happy because they absolutely are oligarchs. They are not interested in the American people or democracy. So good for them. I'm so glad they lost so much money. Stick with us.